Welcome to the quick hitter version of Catch and Shoot 2.0. Along with Otto Strong, I'm Bruce Bernstein filling in for Aaron Berlin. Our featured conversation this week is with Amina Smith of NBC Sports Boston, who hosts studio segments during Celtics games. And we discussed how the COVID situation has affected the Celtics more than it has many teams. You know, the COVID has taken a pretty severe toll on a lot of teams around the NBA. So it isn't just Boston, but Boston in particular. I mean, Tatum was suffering after effects of it. Evan Fournier, since he's been on the team, has had, you know, the toughest time, I think, of any guy in the league, pretty much, as far as trying to, you know, get healthy and get on track. So I think, unfortunately for Boston, I mean, they have enough talent, even right now, to be the number 4 seed. But the way things are going, they can't even set up a rotation right now. I mean, Robert Williams, you know, it has become a really important part of their team, especially after they traded Daniel Tice. I mean, they were really going to be relying on him. Tristan Thompson's a very nice player. To me, Tristan should be the backup. Rob should be the starter. But right now, everybody's got to step up, and it's been tough. So my concern with them is that even if, you know, they have a few good games, they're not going to really have a settled sort of set of roles for the postseason. And in the postseason, the game slows down. The rotations get a little bit shorter. And I think Brad's really going to have his hands full.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is also trying to figure out what this team is going to look like in the playoffs. So on our Celtics Pod Talk podcast, you know, we kind of bring up all these hypotheticals, and we're like, you know, if this team is healthy, then they're going to go deep in the playoffs. So this is going to be a great team in the playoffs. Like they could actually contend. But if they haven't been healthy all season long and they haven't been bringing their A game all season long, what makes us think that they're going to magically do it for the playoffs? I think that, again, health is going to be a really big concern with this team moving forward. And then also that bench. They tried to make the bench better, you know, by bringing on Jabari Parker, right? And because of that abysmal showing that they had against the Lakers, like, oh my God, the bench did an awful job. And they bring on Jabari Parker. And, you know, I don't think they'll get that deep into the bench once the playoffs get here. But still, it's just like, you know, they got to figure it out. Like chemistry has been an issue, you know, finding their identity has been an issue. And then you kind of think that they did at some point, like a couple weeks ago, when they went on that road trip and they won all 3 out west, and they come back to TD Garden and they win a game, you know, they win against the Suns, and you think they figured it out. But then they have a game like how they did against the Hornets on Sunday. And it's like, all right, maybe they didn't figure it out. Maybe they're still trying to, you know, get this thing going. But I think the big key is going to be staying healthy, but then also the superstars bringing their A game every single night. You got to bring 110% every single night. And I think that's the thing that they're lacking. Like the big thing with Jason Tatum has been that, you know, he's a superstar, but you got to be a superstar game in and game out. You can't pick which nights that you want to be a superstar, you know? And I think that's the biggest issue. You know, when you look at Jason Tatum, I think the talent is there, you know, but, you know, you're the $195 million guy. You're going to have to be the $195 million guy every single night you're on the court. So I think that's another glaring issue with this team as well.
So, you know, let's say things don't go exactly as planned, and then they kind of play out the season the way they're going. And I'm just looking, they got 2 games against the Heat. Now they're both at home. They got the Blazers also at home. You know, Hornets again. So, you know, they've got some games against teams that are trying to take what they have, so to speak, because these are 3 games against teams that are underneath them. So, like, look, if the worst happens and they get to a 7 seed or an 8 seed, I feel like, you know, they would be in a great place. I feel like everyone's A game is going to be just like pop out of nowhere, just like in the bubble, just bring it up to Boston. Yeah. And so the problem for me is that, maybe not so much as a Celtics fan. Like I look at the standings, like if you're the Sixers and like they're going through a little mini tailspin right now, I don't know. I mean, look, if the Celtics wind up in the 7th seed and you're the Sixers, like if you're Boston, you got to think like, okay, that's something that we would want. I feel like maybe not the Sixers from you know earlier in the season, but
right.
I mean, at least what they're showing right now. Do you feel like? What do you think the best first round matchup would be for them, assuming they get, you know, wherever they may fall?
I think the best first round matchup. Okay, let's start with what I would feel uncomfortable with. Obviously, them playing Brooklyn would be very uncomfortable for me. Even playing the Bucks, I feel like will be uncomfortable for me because I think that's going to be a challenge. I think that Mike Budenholzer is under fire right now. We want to see this team perform in the postseason, which they haven't done. And I think that they're playing for a lot right now. I think that the Bucks are definitely playing for a lot, and that's not a team that the Celtics want to see, especially in that first round. Philly, I don't think that's a team that they want to see in that first round. I still, even though they're going through that mini tailspin right now, the matchups that they've had against Philly as of late just have not worked in Boston's favor. And I just think that Joel Embiid, I think once he gets to the playoffs as well, like he's going to be playing at a different level too. And I don't think that Boston wants to see that. The Heat also, they kind of scare me. I'm not going to lie. The Heat will always scare me. Like if they end up, facing the Heat in the playoffs, it's just, that's a team that's gonna play you tooth and nail. They're gonna fight to the death. Like that's a description that I look at when I think of the Miami Heat.
But you gotta play somebody.
You gotta play somebody. You do. I mean, but that's the thing. That's why it's just like, okay, they have to show that they have at least the umph. I feel like that's what they lack. They lack that aggression. They lack that focus on the court. And that's what makes it so scary with them going. It doesn't even matter who they play in the playoffs, to be honest. It's gonna be tough. Just based off of the sample size that we're seeing in these last several games, if they take that attitude and they take that body language and they take the game that they're bringing in these last several games to the playoffs, they're not going to survive. They're not going to come out that first round. It doesn't matter how good the team is, how talented the team is. If you take the body language and the attitude, that even like on defense on Sunday playing the Hornets, oh my gosh, when Terry Rozier came out and, stole the ball from the pass that Tatum was doing. And I mean, like, what are we doing on the court? Like, what's happening? Like, you got to be on point. You got to have aggression. You got to be dialed in, and they're not dialed in, and that's a problem.
If you'd like to hear more from Amina Smith, check out the full version of Catch and Shoot 2.0 from Pure Hoops Media. You can also see the video version of the Catch and Shoot Quick Hitter on the Pure Hoops Media YouTube channel.